Hello, on this Holy Thursday, the night we remember Jesus celebrating the Last Supper with his disciples, the night before he was led away to be crucified on Good Friday. Jesus did something incredible that night. He knelt down and washed his disciples' feet. That probably sounds a little bit foreign to us, washing somebody's feet, but it was really very practical. You can imagine walking around in a dry and dusty climate all day with sandals on. Your feet are going to get pretty dirty. And so Jesus was washing their feet, but he was also indicating that the disciples needed far more than a foot washing. They needed a heart washing that only he could provide. It reminds me of an earlier story in the book of John, John chapter 2, where Jesus changes water into wine. Yes, water into wine, in and of itself, an incredible miracle, but only pointing to who Jesus is and what he came to do for us. You see, Jesus didn't change just any water into wine, as if that weren't enough. Jesus changed ceremonial water into wine, water that the Jews used to wash ceremonially in a way that represented their cleanness before a holy and righteous God. But Jesus was indicating that he came to fulfill this true cleansing in a way the water only could represent. Jesus changed that water into wine. And that's where it brings us right back to this Holy Thursday evening. A Thursday when Jesus took this cup filled with wine, and he offered it to his disciples, and he said, "This cup is the new covenant which has been poured out in my blood." Now, Jesus offers us this cup of his forgiveness, this cup of his cleansing. But he's only able to do so by the second cup that he encounters later that night in the Garden of Gethsemane. And Jesus agonized over this cup. This cup was a cup of God's wrath and God's punishment for all of humanity's sin. And Jesus cried out to the Father. He said, "Father, if it's possible, make this cup pass from me. But not my will, your will be done." And Jesus took that cup and he drank it. He drank it full on the cross in order to pay for my sin and your sin. Jesus drank that cup, the cup of God's wrath and the cup of God's punishment, in order that he might offer us the cup of God's forgiveness, the cup of God's mercy and cleansing. That's the cup he offers you if you were only to take it. That's the cup of God's blessing on this Holy Thursday.